investigating any possible exposures and prevent further, what's the word, further spread. Sorry, it's so tiny, it's hard to read. So this patient was a 27-year-old man from the Western area rural district. And so there's a lot, let me just look at it on my phone. It is impossible for me to read it here. But as you guys know, this is a really, really important story. So I just want to make sure I get you guys the details. Just trying to pull it up on my phone here so that I can read it more clearly. Okay. So the person was from the Western area, and they want to identify possible exposures to prevent further spread. In response to the NPHA and the MOH have swiftly activated the incident command system to contain the outbreak. Key actions are underway include isolating the patient and providing medical care in a secure environment, conducting extensive contact tracing and monitoring identified contacts for 21 days, strengthening disease surveillance, especially in areas the patient recently visited, including Lunge, which is the airport, probably flew in recently, raising public awareness about monkeypox symptoms, transmission, and prevention, supplying healthcare facilities with personal protective equipment, PPE, and training healthcare workers from about infection prevention, and also partnering with international health bodies like WHO for technical and logistical support. By the way, those of you who are just joining, the first case of monkeypox has been confirmed in Sierra Leone. This is breaking news, and we're talking about it right now. This is why I'm live today instead of any other day I normally go live. So what they say is monkeypox is a viral illness transmitted from animals to humans and between people through close contact. Common symptoms include fever, skin rashes, swollen lymph nodes. Anyone experiencing these symptoms should immediately call 117, which is Sierra Leone's emergency response system, similar to the United States 911, or they would like for them to visit the nearest health facility. Health teams are fully prepared to isolate suspected cases and trace contacts to limit the spread. To help stop the spread of monkeypox, they urge everyone to rely on accurate information from official health sources, wash hands regularly, and practice good hygiene. Call 117 if you or someone you know shows monkeypox-like symptoms. Avoid close contact with sick individuals and handling wild animals. Show kindness and avoid stigmatizing those affected. The health and safety of every Sierra Leonean remain their highest priority. They encourage the public to stay calm and remain vigilant and follow health guidelines. By working together, they say that we can control the outbreak and prevent and protect our nation. Regular updates will be shared as the situation develops. So this is the response that was sent out just yesterday once they confirmed the first case of monkeypox. What I know to be true is generally monkeypox is a challenge around the continent of Africa, but much of it is spread, from what I understand, from folks in the European regions, believe it or not, have been bringing monkeypox to the continent in terms of this newer spread. There were some cases in the United States. You guys might remember in August of last year, there have been some cases in the EU, and many of the cases that happen on the continent of Africa come in through the airport. You specifically heard them say here in this report, contact tracing, following where they were, including Lunge. Lunge is where the airport is in Sierra Leone. That is the main airport. So it's clear that this person came from somewhere else with monkeypox and brought it in to the country. It is a very gruesome disease. I'll show you some images so you get an idea of what it looks like. This is what monkeypox can look like. So this is what it looks like. Now, this is what it looks like on Europeans. This is what it can tend to look like on Africans. Another example of what it can look like on Europeans, but this is what it can look like on Africans. So another example of Europeans, another example of other Europeans. This is what it looks like on Africans. So If you see this occurring on your skin at any point in time, you want to go to a healthcare professional to ensure that you get treated immediately and that you get isolated from the general population. This is what it looks like. It is a very scary, physically altering, for a time period, disease. Not like chickenpox, which has its own view and look, which we're pretty familiar with. This monkeypox is very, very different. And so it's kind of scary, right now. I think people are a little bit worried in Sierra Leone about whether or not the transmission of this will become more widespread, and if they need to be prepared for this. So, I think what we'll probably end up seeing is people moving back to the same kind of interactions with folks the way you saw during the other global illness that occurred in 2020 and 2021. So yeah, I mean, this is really important. So life is important. Kate says, why is it always Africa? Well, it came to Africa, at least recently, but it seems as though this may have come from someone who traveled from, or at least traveled from outside of Sierra Leone. We don't know where they came from initially, but there have been many more cases and ongoing cases throughout Europe since August of last year. And many of the cases that we've been seeing on the continent had been from folks bringing it in to the continent from other parts of the world. Now, there are many folks that say that it originated on the continent of Africa, of course, because the name in and of itself, monkeypox, I think, people want to attribute it to folks who eat what some people call bushmeat, which can be the fact that there are some folks on the continent that do eat primates from time to time. It's very few and far between. It's not something that most people do, but some people do. And this is the kind of thing that they want to blame on Africans, as usual. Monkeypox is not a new phenomenon. It has been around for some time. I'm going to read you guys some information about monkeypox so you can become a little bit more aware of its history and how it occurs in the wild. So let me give you some history. So this recent case marks a significant development in Sierra Leone's history with the disease. In 1970, the first case of monkeypox was reported in Sierra Leone. The second occurrence was in 2014. So you see how rare and how few and far between we find these occurrences in Sierra Leone. In 2017, a 35-year-old male farmer in the Pejaun district was confirmed to have monkeypox. In March 9th, 2021, a 47-year-old male resident was diagnosed with monkeypox, marking his first case in a long time. So this reemergence of monkeypox in Sierra Leone suggests a need for renewed vigilance and awareness of the disease and its manifestations. So we've already talked about what they're planning to do. There is no cure or I'm afraid to say these words on the internet because YouTube tends to suppress this kinds of content when you talk about these things, but it's really important. So, it's just something that they have. There is no vax. So right now, the only thing that they can do is treat it and do contact tracing and ensure that people are, as much as possible, taking precautionary measures to not be around each other to lower the transmission. So yeah, I mean, the situation is ongoing. Right now, we don't have a lot of information beyond what I've read to you previously. But we will continue to give you guys more information and more insight as it becomes available. This is something that's really scary. I just left Sierra Leone a little over 3 weeks ago. And so, I have no idea if there had been cases while I was there. It's very likely that there were. I myself, luckily have no symptoms. And, don't know anybody who've had any symptoms. So that is one thing that we can, breathe a sigh of relief knowing. But look, at the end of the day, there has been the first confirmed case yesterday, January 10th, 2025. Not the best way to start off the new year. So, any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? I see some folks watching from Nigeria. I see some folks watching from South Africa, some folks watching from Sonoma, California, Philadelphia, New York. I think I saw somebody from the Middle East. I couldn't tell because it was a flag that I do not recognize, but I know it's a flag from the Middle East. Any other comments, thoughts from anybody who recently became aware or knows anything more about this monkeypox case? I'd love for you to add your thoughts. I'm just trying to read through comments. A bunch of people are joining and saying where they're watching from. True Love Family Circle says, thanks for your information. You're welcome. This is the kind of thing that this platform is meant to do and share. Normally, I try to, if I'm talking about the news, especially breaking news, I try to be in, more, formal attire. But I was, getting ready to do a workout, and I decided that I should just go live and discuss this particular incident. This is really disheartening and scary. And not something that I wanted to come on here and discuss. I would much more prefer to have conversations about other things more positive, but I do think it's important for people to be aware of this, especially if you're planning to travel to Sierra Leone, that you need to make sure you take precautionary measures to ensure that you yourself do not get infected. So just make sure, maybe fist bump, elbow bump people, not as many hugs, not as many handshakes this time around. Approach it the way you were approaching the global sickness that happened a couple years ago with the Omarion variant and the Delta variant, if you know what I'm talking about, that thing that kind of resurfaces every couple of months that they, have given jabs for. So I think I would approach it the same way. The fact that we've had our first, and for those of you who are just joining, I see a few people joining. I'm just mentioning that Sierra Leone has had its first confirmed case of monkeypox since 2021. Prior to that was 2017. Prior to that was many years, many years between, I think, 2014 and 1970, where the first confirmed case had happened. So it's not a very prominent thing in Sierra Leone, and it seems to be contained rather quickly each of the previous times that it has been diagnosed in country. But as of right now, just so you guys all are aware, Sierra Leone has confirmed its first case as of yesterday. I represent Sierra Leone every day. It's my country. So, when I'm on this platform, Authentic African, I know that the platform is meant to talk about Africa as a whole, but I do speak about things happening in Sierra Leone from time to time. I do want to make sure that everybody is aware. I will be going live tomorrow with Admire from Sierra Leoneans Killing It, and that's going to be a more positive story. We'll be interviewing a very special guest, and you guys will be seeing that, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be an Instagram only live stream. I'll probably do a reaction to it later on this platform. And then on Monday, I'm going live again. So it'll be 3 days in a row. Monday, I'll be going live about my experience in Ghana during Dirty December. So I just got back about a week ago, went straight to Vegas, and I had a flight on Monday. So that's why I wasn't able to go live. But yeah. So couple of questions that are coming up, it seems. So Life is Important says, can it kill? My sister is there right now visiting. Unlikely. It is not deadly, and it but it's something that you should be careful of. But no, it's not deadly, and if treated, you should just be fine. It does tend to go away from what I understand, like chickenpox, but as far as I understand, chickenpox technically never really goes away. It just lives dormant in your system. A lot of times chickenpox ends up showing up as shingles later in people's lives. I don't know if people have ever heard of that, but that's what it is, So it just lies dormant in your system. That's what chickenpox does. Monkeypox, I don't have all that detail. but from what I understand, it is something that kind of goes away. Tiggy says, "Hey Joe, welcome back. I'm just joining the live. What was the case confirmed?" I did go through some of those details earlier on in the live stream. If you're just joining the live stream, especially on YouTube, you can actually take the cursor that you're the little dot that shows where you are in the live stream, and you can just move it all the way back to the beginning, and you can actually start watching the live stream from the beginning. When you join, sometimes you kind of start right where we are, and so if you want to get the details of, you know, what are some of the symptoms, what you can look out for, I opened this up with a video from you know, some health professionals that kind of talk about 5 things you should know. And then I went through and read the press release from the health department of Sierra Leone. So the question is, does it go away on its own? It tends to, from what I understand. Praying for Sierra Leone from California, and praying for California as well. Gregory is watching from the Gambia. Aisha says, wow, very scary, very much so. Robert Gisson says, are there results on where the affected person traveled in Sierra Leone? One of the things they talked about is them coming from Lunge, which is where the airport is. So my assumption is that this person traveled into the country, but we don't have too many more details on that person and where they traveled around the country. They're in the process of doing contact tracing and tracing their whereabouts over the last 24 to 78 hours or whatever it is, 72 hours, and trying to determine, you know, how this person could have contracted this this virus, and also potentially who they've been in contact with, who could potentially end up spreading it to. Tim Black says, how come African nations don't make their own instead of getting them from, you know, it's a lot of times it has to do with resources, right? You know, when it comes to some of these Western countries, they have billions of dollars to go into the process of creating these vaccines. And what you have on the continent of Africa is less budget, folks still working to try to create these vaccines or treatments. But that's why you find some of the westernized countries tend to have these vaccines more readily available and sooner than you might see on the continent. And then they distribute it out to different countries based on WHO and other international guidelines and how they work it out when they talk to each other about how they want to share these things. You also have people that are very vax hesitant, vax skeptical, right? So you have that challenge as well, right? So, you know, this is one of those things where when something like this happens, it seems people tend to put their guard down and are more ready and willing to get vaccines for something like this because it has a physical it changes your appearance physically, but this doesn't actually have a vax. So as of right now, the only thing you can do is allow it to go away on its own. Let me give you guys some more facts and data on the virus itself. So because there were a lot of questions about it. So first, let's talk about the preventative measures. You know, surveillance, contact tracing, infection prevention and control, personal protective equipment, risk communication. Apparently there may be a vax for this, but it doesn't seem as though it's readily available. So one of the questions was, does it go, how does it go away? And I'm going to answer that question in a second. So basically, it typically goes away on its own without any specific treatment on most people. The illness usually lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. During this time, it progresses through several stages. So number 1, the rash evolves from flat spots to raised bumps, which then fill with fluid and later pus. Those bumps crust over and form scabs. Then the scabs eventually fall off and heal. So those are kind of the 3 stages that happen when people contract monkeypox. A person is considered recovered and no longer contagious only after all symptoms have disappeared, all scabs have completely healed, and a new layer of skin has formed. It's important to note that even after visible symptoms resolve, live monkeypox virus has been found in bodily fluids of some people for several weeks after recovery. Therefore, using a barrier protection like, the kind that are used as contraceptives during intimate activity is recommended for 12 weeks after recovery. Again, 12 weeks after recovery, because it can sometimes still be found in bodily fluids. Really, really important information to know. Life is important. Case says, thank you for this information. I shall inform her. I'm watching from the UK and I'm loving your show. Just discovered you. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Glad you find this helpful. We go live every week to share all things Africa related. And I do a number of live streams. Sometimes we interview folks. Sometimes we talk about my experience living on the continent. And sometimes we do breaking news like today. Tim Black says, it makes sense. It makes me sad that some African leaders ensure that they get the best medical care, but the citizens basically the citizens don't, I think is what you're trying to say. Agreed. I think that is one of the challenges we have on the continent of Africa. Many folks go to get treatment outside of the country of origin. Medical tourism is happening at a great length in Kenya and in South Africa. Those two are known as the best two places for medical treatment on the continent of Africa. Many of our West African leaders and many just folks that are of means leave Sierra Leone and go to Ghana or to Europe or the US if they can to get treatment. And so that happens often. In this case, I don't think people can leave. They have to kind of stay secluded because they're trying to minimize contact tracing and reduce the spread. We will keep a close eye on this, and I will be sure to to be sharing with you guys as more information comes out. This is a scary situation for those of you who are just joining. Sierra Leone has reported its first known case of monkeypox in at least 4 years. And the amount of cases of monkeypox throughout Sierra Leone's history, in terms of the reported cases, are very few and far between. I mentioned earlier, for those of you guys who are just joining, the first case was in 1970. That very next case reported was in 2014. This has become a global issue. People have been talking about it globally in specific countries since August of 2024. But this is the first case in Sierra Leone after it became something that these international health organizations deemed a problem in August of last year. So that shows that Sierra Leone had very little transmission of this thing, but now, unfortunately, it has reached our shores. I have just left Sierra Leone 2 weeks ago, so I'm obviously going to be taking a look at my skin and just making sure that I am sure that I'm okay. But I think that I think by now I would have had symptoms if that was the case. Again, for those of you who are just joining, want to share with you what it can look like on an African. This is an example of what it looks like. Here's some more examples of what it can look like. You have an example here of a young child with it. Here's another example of what it can look like. And again, it starts off with these. Then they fill with fluid, then they fill with pus, then they scab over and fall off. So this is what it can end up looking like. So this one is one where it looks like the person is eventually recovering and it's falling off. For some people, it can be painful. For other people, it's just annoying. So that's what it looks like on Africans. This is what it looks like on Europeans. So if you ever come in contact with someone, it looks a lot like chickenpox, but it can be more severe, much more severe in terms of its appearance. So just make sure you know what to potentially expect, and you want to, as much as possible, minimize the spread of this disease, this virus. So I know it probably creeps some people out to see those images, but it's important to know what it looks like, and it is important to know what is happening right now. It is scary, and it's not deadly, but it is physically appearance altering, and it can stay in your system for up to 12 weeks after your symptoms go away. So, these are just really important things to know, to make sure you spend as much time as you can, doing your own research on this. Again, I will keep you all posted as we get more information and insight into what is happening here. I know it's nuts. I know it's crazy. And I don't know how else to describe it, but this is the situation that we're in. Now, I have one more story that I want to go over today, because I think this is an important one as well. We talk a lot about, the positive things happening on the continent, and as much as possible, I try to make sure that I share those stories. But from time to time, there are stories that aren't so positive, right? And so we just want to make sure that, we, as much as possible, are reporting on things that you need to know. And, we of course, we are big proponents of visiting the continent of Africa, investing on the continent. But, these things are important. By the way, many more cases have happened in the United States and in Europe, and over the last couple of years, it's been a big challenge. But I do want to just make sure that people keep this in mind. So the next story is another story that's not an ideal one, not as serious, but it does have broader implications for those who were really excited about a specific story. But this was reported about 3 or so days ago, and I wanted to share it with you all so you guys were aware of this situation. So, as of 3 days ago, Sierra Leone's own certified airlines banned from European Union airspace. Airlines certified by Sierra Leone aviation authorities are among 129 carriers worldwide banned from operating in the European Union airspace, according to the latest EU air safety list. Sierra Leone Tourism. So Sierra Loaded, which is where I'm getting this from, and much of the news I get about Sierra Leone, I have to shout out Sierra Loaded. They do a great job of keeping you up to date on elections and things happening all over the country of Sierra Leone. Local stories, international stories pertaining to the country. So I definitely recommend you guys check out Sierra Loaded. But they say they understand that the ban includes all airlines under the regulatory oversight of Sierra Leone Civil Aviation Authority, the SLCAA. The December 2024 updated list identifies airlines deemed unsafe for European skies and includes carriers from several other African nations, including Angola, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Liberia, Libya, Sudan, and Zimbabwe. It is unfortunate to see that Sierra Leone is one of the countries that our airlines are banned. You guys might know that there was a airline, Sierra Leone, announced last year that will be flying to Gatwick airport in London, or in the UK. I don't know where it is in the UK, so it may be in London. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's in Gatwick. I don't know that area. You guys correct me if I'm wrong or tell me where that is. But unfortunately, that would be under a Sierra Leone certified airline. So that is no longer going to be able to land or fly in the European Union airspace, which means potentially it can go to maybe England. I'm not sure. But all other airlines certified by the Sierra Leone cannot go. So now I know that UK has left the EU with Brexit. So I'm not sure if this includes airlines flying to England, because England is no longer part of the EU. But yeah, so this is obviously a challenge. I think people are thinking about the Air Sierra Leone airline that was, that was supposed to be launching, and now it seems like that airline, although it was supposed to go to the UK, I don't know if it gets included in the EU. So you guys can also check out this post. But Air Sierra Leone, but basically there had been some talk about Air Sierra Leone operating and had not yet commenced operations. And the prices that they had been talking about, at $150, et cetera, et cetera. What Air Sierra Leone said is they had not commenced operations. The prices displayed on their website is part of a technical test to evaluate the functionality of the payment system ahead of the announcement of their operations. They said that does not reflect the actual flight availability or pricing for now. What they said was flight schedule, prices, and date of commencement of the maiden flight will be made known to the public in due course. They did say rely on them for official announcements. Well, as of right now, I'm not even sure it can operate in the EU airspace. Well, it definitely can't, but I don't know if the UK is considered a part of that. So we'll know more, and once we do, we will share that information. All right, so that's the second story for today. Ideally, not ideal stories, not positive stories. We want to always be telling, ideally positive stories about the continent, but we also need to make sure that people are aware of the things that are happening that aren't so positive. So, yeah, that is it for today. This was, like I said, an emergency live stream, breaking news. I actually have to, get back to my Saturday activities, some phone calls to make, some work to do, videos to edit so that I continue to give you guys more videos. A couple things that I want to make, a couple of announcements that I want to make. Again, for those of you who've watched this far, we are going live again tomorrow with Admire Demo and Sierra Leoneans Killing It. We will be interviewing someone about their life living in between the United States and Ghana as a Sierra Leonean dual citizen. They are going to talk about their experience, what they do for a living, and we're going to highlight their businesses. And so I look forward to sharing their story with you. That will be at 4 p.m. Eastern. That is at 9 p.m. That is at 9 p.m. GMT. And so for those of you who are in the United States, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, and you guys know your time zones in between. Monday, we'll be going live again, talking about Dirty December, my time in Ghana. I spent a week in Ghana, a little over a week in Ghana, and had my own Dirty December experience. So I'll tell you what that was like, and give you guys some updates on what I got going on in Ghana. And then we got some interesting stuff that I'll be sharing with you coming out of that trip. I'm really excited to share the stuff that I'll be doing in Ghana this year and moving forward. So definitely got some updates for you there. So those are the things. And then some other updates. So we have just hit 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want to thank you guys all for helping us hit that milestone. After just 3.5 years on YouTube, without ever compromising our morals, and without ever going into the salacious headlines and all the things that other people like to do to try to maximize growth and go viral, just by sharing information with our people. You guys helped us get to 20,000 subscribers in just under 4 years. So that's one. I want to say thank you for that. Also, as it pertains to Instagram, we just passed the $400,000 money on my mind, the 400,000 follower threshold on Instagram. That is a huge feat. First of all, we just recently got the ability to go live again on Instagram. So for those of you who are watching on Instagram, thank you for watching, and really excited about being able to go live on Instagram again. It's been a long time coming, so I'm excited that we're able to do that. And also the fact that not only can we go live on Instagram, but we've now passed that threshold of 400,000 followers on Instagram. So thank you guys so much for helping us do that. And then, of course, thanks again for you guys helping us get to 20,000 subscribers on YouTube. Those of you who have a YouTube channel, who have ever attempted to start a YouTube channel, you will know how difficult it is to grow a YouTube channel. And I think this community has been really, really supportive. We've gone through our ups and downs, you know, me being removed from the YouTube partner program, me being added back to the YouTube partner program, being suspended again, and added back, and suspended again and added back. You know, we went live with African Stream for some time, and African Stream got kicked off of Meta and Google. And so we got some updates coming soon for you guys as well as it pertains to African Stream. I definitely want to make sure that we give you some updates there, because look, that platform really was educating me. You know, Enem Richardson was an amazing co-host on This Week in Africa. And, you know, we would like to figure out how we can, in some way, shape, or form, try to bring it back, because, you know, you guys were all, you know, in this journey with us as we grew and learned a lot more about what was happening on the continent. And so I do my best to kind of share that on Instagram. I continue to share those stories that African Stream is reporting on. So, you know, if you haven't gotten a chance to check that out, just, you know, go to Instagram, you'll see those there. But we'll definitely have more stories and more ways to share them. Stay tuned for how we're working it to make that happen. But I definitely am looking forward to, you know, to getting back up and going with weekly live streams of the news around the continent. Yes, I do my own research, and I do the best that I can to share those details. But, you know, we have other folks who are reporters for a living, and that is who I want to go live with and interview them about, you know, the top stories of the day. And so we'll make sure we get back to that. This looks like some more comments and thoughts on today's live stream. So let's get to some of those. So Anne-Marie Harding is saying Gatwick Airport is near London and calls itself Gatwick London, even though it's not in London. Got it. Africanus says, did you see the article about the reporter on The Conversation that quoted your interview about Sherbro Island City? I didn't, actually. I didn't. So please share that. That's dope. I didn't know that that interview that I did with Shaka Stevens was quoted. So yeah, please share that conversation, Africanus. You can either email me. By the way, for those of you who want to support the channel, you know, one of the challenges that we have here, as you guys know, is the platforms aren't always too nice to folks like myself who are reporting on Pan-Africanism generally. I mean, today's content, I think, hopefully we'll be fine with. I tried to use the proper language that they expect you to use. But if you want to support the channel in any way, this is one way that you can do that. You can also head over to Patreon and look up Authentic African, and you can subscribe on Patreon as well if you'd like to support the platform that way. Tiggy says, congrats on the 20K subscribers. Thank you very much. Tiggy knows she's been with the platform for a while. And so I appreciate it, you know, and you got to catch me up on what's been going on in your land situation. I think I've introduced you to a couple people in Sierra Leone, so I'm interested to see if they've been able to help you with everything you got going on. Life is Important says YouTube is like that, and says some other things that I will not repeat. So with that, guys, again, tune in tomorrow for my joint live stream with the one and only Admire Demo and Sierra Leoneans Killing It for the interview that we will have. And we will share a lot of really cool stuff tomorrow. And then Monday, tune back in again for my Pan-African Perspectives live stream, where we talk about my time in Ghana, what that 8 or 9 days was like. Lots to catch you guys up on, some really cool things going on. What do they say? Pots on the fire, or whatever they call it. But there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm looking forward to being able to share with you guys what I am working on, and you know, what I'm ready to announce there. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys, with that, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next live stream.